YB stays on your neck.
I tell you, after the fight, it depends. It depends if AJ does what is required, if he pays the price, then yeah, he should have a rematch. If he's not willing to change his outlook, if he's not willing to change the way he's training, the way he's sparring, I think sparring is the key. Yeah, I think it's really, really important for a fighter, particularly a fighter fighting someone who's fighting someone. For instance, when I fought Jean-Marc Mormet, I hated this style. It's horrible. I hate short fighters. I hate short fighters who get into my range and force me to fight. I like someone standing out of range, big, tall guys where I can have a breather, jab and feint. And when someone just comes in, you're forced to fight at a pace you don't want to fight at. And it drains your energy, especially when it's hitting you to the body and you're slowing down. It's horrible. So you've got to kind of put yourself in that environment. I brought in Carlos Takam when I fought Derek, for instance. It's horrible. I hate sparring with him. It was really, really hard. But I had to do it. It's horrible. I remember thinking, oh, God, I'm not sparring again. This guy, and I'd do 2 rounds with him, 2 rounds with someone else, and he's getting fresh while I'm getting tired. Then he'd come back in the ring and I'm knackered and he's still fresh again. And it was just hard and it was horrible. But after 6 weeks of that, I became kind of numb to it. I became conditioned to that pressure. Then the pressure didn't feel like it was pressure anymore. It just felt like that was boxing. That's how it is. But you got to go through this 3 or 4 weeks of horrid headaches and shoulder aching and your back's hurting and you've got black eyes and your nose and your freaking teeth are wobbly and you'll go through that and it's horrible. But if you want to become comfortable, and so for instance when I fought Derek, I was comfortable with pressure. It didn't bother me at all. But if I'd have fought Derek without that type of preparation, it would have been a problem for me, a real, real big problem. And I'm assuming that's a similar sort of situation with Anthony Joshua.
Yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just heard there from David, Big Toe, Haye. Now, I meant to do this video a while ago, as you can probably see. The first interview we saw was from before, or was in the lead up to the Tyson Fury versus Tom Schwartz fight. And it's actually only because I saw this recent interview with David Haye in Boxing Social, which kind of jolted me and reminded me to do this video. Anyway, cutting to the chase, I thought the things that David Big Toe Haye was saying possibly had some credit. So what did David Haye say? He said that essentially maybe AJ needs to bring in, or maybe AJ isn't used to having rough spars. Maybe the reason AJ got caught by Joey DeWaco and has been getting caught in the past is because he's fighting particular people who are coming in young and hungry. As an example, Daniel Dubois or whoever's. Pick anyone you want. There's been rumours going around that allegedly these people have caught AJ off guard because he's not used to being in the lion's den. Every fight in sparring isn't really a proper fight. It's more of a flow jobby, which can happen when you become a big dog. A lot of the time, people become, almost in there, or they become idolized by you, and they're watching you, and they don't want to really push you. Does that make sense? And therefore, when people who have come in who haven't respected Joshua, in that sense, haven't overrated him, they've come in and stuck it on him, and allegedly put him down. Yeah, like Joey DeWaco did, or like Daniel Dubois did. They came in, didn't show him much respect, and caught him. Now I'm not there. I don't know what kind of sparring AJ is or isn't doing. However, it does have a certain amount of credit, or we have to look into this, because what we do know is I played a video on my live stream last week where AJ was fighting in the amateurs back in 2011. This man called Haye Nistor. You should all watch that fight. Anyone who enjoys boxing, anyone who enjoys AJ's career, you need to watch AJ versus Haye Nistor in the amateurs 2011. This guy, this guy couldn't have been much more than 95 kilo. So he wasn't fat and slow like Ruiz. This dude was probably 220 pounds, 100 kilo, and he was bobbing, weaving, rolling, proper sticking it on Joshua. And he ended up stopping him, actually. Joshua didn't get put down, he got stopped on his feet. This guy was slipping, sliding, busted Joshua's nose. And the reason I bring that up is because, what do we know? That style is similar to the style that Ruiz has. Now you might be saying, well, look at AJ's beat Klitschko, yeah, but look at AJ's career. This is literally the first time. The Ruiz fight was the first time that AJ's fought someone like Haye Nistor. And unfortunately, as I've been saying this last little while, unfortunately, Robert McCrappen hasn't been training Joshua properly. Don't get me wrong. If Joshua had a proper trainer like the YB, in 8 years, he'd be a completely different fighter. And whilst he got stopped by a guy in 2011 in the amateurs, you best believe if the YB was there, he wouldn't be getting stopped by the same sloppy, fat, slow dude in Ruiz. It wouldn't be happening. But this just goes to show, watch the Haye Nistor fight and you tell me if Robert McCrappen has made any real improvements in Joshua in 8 years. It looks exactly the same. It looks like a deer in headlights. Yeah, he gets caught, he doesn't bring his lead hand up properly. He keeps getting timed. He gets timed. He doesn't bring his guard up properly. He keeps getting caught round the side of his guard. Doesn't cup it in tight and keep it to his head. And tucks it in by his ear. Keeps getting caught round the side of it. Carries it a bit too low. And these are habitual skills that you need to be drilled. Yeah? Seriously need to be drilled. Like I'm talking hardcore drilled. As in, any time it comes down, we're going to start again. This is what we have to do, especially heavyweights. Other smaller dudes, they can get away with it, because if they get clipped around the side of the ear, not too bad. You know what, you might be rocked, but you can come back. But in heavyweight, it only takes one shot, and that can mess your whole fight up, as Joshua found in the Ruiz fight. You've only got to get caught in the wrong place once, and that's essentially game, set, and match. And I'm sorry, watch that fight from 8 years ago, and you tell me if you think there's been improvements. Baron, it's 8 years. We're talking 8 years of improvement. It should be light and day in 8 years. In reality, it's very marginal, if I'm honest. Very marginal indeed. If anything, he actually looked a bit better in the amateurs. He was throwing more punches back then. Now, you could argue it's amateur style and whatnot, but still, he looked better back then. Throwing combinations, throwing shots out. But anyway, let's get back to the point in this video. David Big Toe Haye says, perhaps Joshua needs to bring in some young bulls to really give him the work. And I kind of agree. Now, I'm not sure about the whole concussion business in as much as, not now, he needs to recover for the next 90 days. But then, he needs to bring in some people like Dueco, and he needs to understand, because what you've got to realise is as well, people keep saying to me, oh, well, Joey Dueco, YB, you said AJ is good. How can he be good if he's getting clocked by Dueco? Now, this is my theory. I reckon. Let's assume the conspiracy is true. Joshua did get hurt 8 days before. Now, what do we know? 8 days before, no one should be doing hard sparring. It should be flow sparring. Therefore, I reckon what happened was, they brought Joey Dueco in. Joey Dueco trying to get a name for himself. We already know how he feels about Joshua. He said, oh yeah, Joshua's got no power. Yeah, Wilder's the one with the power. Klitschko's the one with the power. Joshua's only a 7. Wilder's a 10. Klitschko's a 9. This is what the things he was saying. So we know he felt some type of way about Joshua. And this isn't the first guy to say that. It's like, as an example, Brendan Sharp. This is the cultural mentality a lot of American people have against Joshua. You've got to bear that in mind. As I was saying, Brendan Sharp, a former fighter, he said, oh yeah, Joshua was the most overrated fighter. And this was before he lost to Ruiz, by the way. Joshua was the most overrated fighter, etc., etc. Joe Rogan the same. So bear that in mind. They bring this Dueco dude in. 8 days before. You're meant to be doing flow sparring at that point. But Dueco, he wants to get a name for himself. Bangs AJ. Now, how that links into what I'm saying is this. I reckon a lot of the time that Joshua's been caught in sparring has been as a result of him not being switched on. Meaning, if AJ's thinking in his head, you know what, I'm 8 days out. My opponent will know that I'm just doing flow sparring. Does that make sense? Now, this Dueco guy comes out and starts throwing big hammers, big bombs, and that could explain how he got caught. Does that make sense? If Joshua was not expecting for this guy to come out full war style, and he does, that's one easy way to get caught slipping. Now, that's a big leap to take, but I'm just speculating. This could explain how he's being caught off guard, in my opinion. But bottom line is, his training team should know better. They should know, and this is something actually that John Jones mentioned, and it proves that it does happen. People are telling me, oh yeah, there's no way they wouldn't know this, there's no way they wouldn't know that. But ultimately, John Jones said, he has many people come into his sparring sessions and they try and prove something. And he said he doesn't have it anymore. John Jones said, the minute I see someone trying to play games and trying to get one over on me and that, they get taken out of the session. Because I don't need to be playing them games. However, we know AJ's humble, we know he's too nice and that sort of stuff. So I can see a situation where he brings these guys in, try and do him a favour, and they try and take his head off 8 days before. And this, like I said, John Jones has said himself, too many people come in and they try and be smart about it. Trying to get one over on the champ, try and get one over on the GOAT. So if he's saying that out loud, that means it happens worldwide. Never mind the whole of US against AJ sort of thing. So when you put it in there, my point is, David Haye says AJ needs to bring in people for war, and I agree, but this needs to be 15, 16 weeks before he fights. Get that real experience in. Yeah? And AJ knows then, listen boss, a week from now or 2 weeks from now, we're going to do a real hard one. Be prepared for that. Yeah? Now if AJ's mentally prepared and knows what he's going into and gets caught, that's different. But as I say, people say, oh, Josh, how could Joshua got caught? Well, John Jones said it himself. Sometimes people, if you think you're doing flow, and then they suddenly start coming at you, or they put in a cheeky hard dig, what can you do about that? It's too late once they've put a dig in, and that's why it's important to be around people, and Conor McGregor mentioned it as well. You've got to be around people who you know, who you're able to flow with. There's a lot of ego, and a lot of fighters, they haven't got that much IQ, they're not that smart. They don't understand things. Dwayko would have been 8 days before. Dwayko would have had no problem proper swinging around the place at Joshua. He's not that smart. The dude's like 2 planks of wood. He wouldn't have understand. You know what? Let me have some empathy here and understand. AJ, I'm here to help AJ. I'm not here to try and get some stripes. Yeah, but that not only is Dwayko like 2 planks of wood. Also, it's about the ego as well. Fighters are naturally have high ego and high pride and whatnot. And anyone who's sparred before, you know how easy it is to get heated. You know how easy it is to get heated. Things can get heated quickly, and you can get overexcited and whatnot. It doesn't take, and that heavyweight, 260-pound man, it doesn't take much. But anyway, my point is, bring AJ in, prepared, knowing exactly what's what, and put him under pressure. That needs to be happening in sparring. And look at the guys he's been sparring with. In reality, they've all been long people, Klitschko or Okoli. They're all quite long and rangy dudes. Which is, if you're fighting Wilder, that's great. If you're fighting Fury, that's great. But you need to be bringing in... Now, they brought in Dwayko, but too little too late. How can you bring Dwayko in 4 weeks before? That's not enough. Dwayko wasn't in the UK camp. He was only there when he was in the US. That's not good enough. He needs to be there at day one, surely. It's no good, especially at AJ's level. You've got the funds to do that. It's no good being in the UK for 8 weeks and having Okoli come around and whatnot. What's that? What's the point? What's Okoli doing there for? You need to bring in the Kawanakis or whoever. This is your team's job. I'm not sure who's around, but that's why you got a head coach for. If I was the head coach, I'd know who was around, but I'm not. So you need to headhunt people and bring them in. And have the proper wars. Not every day, but say once a week. I don't know, whatever. However you work out your schedule. Within each camp, 3 times within each camp, we're going to have fight simulation. Where we're literally going to have a fight in sparring. Because when you're fighting people like Wilder, it's not so vital to get that. It's not a pressure fight. It's more of a chess match. So there's more tactical elements to it. However, when you're fighting people like Ruiz, like David Haye explains, in my little experience in boxing, it is when someone's coming at you, it's disorientating in itself. And I've got to say, Joshua, in fact, it's not just Joshua, all fighters. If you're not used to having people come at you, it is disorientating. Yeah? It does get your heart rate going. You can become disorientated. You can become what's the word? I can't really I don't know what the word I'm saying, but you know what I mean. You have to become used to being under pressure, comfortable with your holding your feet. Because that's another thing I've noticed. When someone puts it on you, the first thing most people want to do is back up. You want to get out of the way, but in reality, your defense should be comfortable enough. When someone moves forward, your defense should be comfortable enough to keep your feet planted and watch what they're doing. That's the thing. That's what in my head when I thought about it. When I was, you can see on my films I've uploaded. My first few sessions that I was doing, you'll see me backing up and running. Just running. Anytime someone comes forward, I want to get out the back door. Because it's that whole, you want to maintain the range, because the minute the range isn't maintained, they can hit you. So it's that fear of being hit or that fear of being touched. So you back up. But in reality, I started thinking, you know what? He's only got 2 hands. I know only them 2 hands can touch me. This isn't MMA. Therefore, if I hold my feet, I've only got to watch what them 2 hands are doing. If he throws a straight shot, I can parry it. If he throws a straight shot, I can slip it. If he throws a hook, I can roll. If he throws a hook, I can catch. Yeah, that's all. It's simple as that. But I feel in boxing, not enough fighters actually spend time, and not enough trainers know this. Not enough fighters and trainers spend enough time. This is what I'd be doing. If I was with AJ, I'd be doing sessions where, this session, AJ, we're just doing defense. You will not be throwing any shots back. I'd bring people in, and all AJ can do is stand there and defend. He can't throw shots back. Pure defense. You should be comfortable enough just to defend. And therefore, think about the confidence that gives you. Imagine when you go into a sparring session, or when you come out of a sparring session, or either way, when you go into a sparring session and you come out of it knowing, I got through that sparring session without no offense. I was completely comfortable just defending. As an example, a great person who did this, look at Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence. Mikey Garcia's offense didn't get him through that fight. He was coming up 2 weight classes. What got Mikey Garcia through that fight was being comfortable under pressure, was being comfortable getting pieced up. His defense was tight enough. He knew to watch Errol Spence's hands. He caught the hooks. He parried the straight shots. And he took it. That's how he got through the fight. His defense was not leaky. Nothing was getting through. Because he'd been schooled well. Joshua, on the other hand, his defense has never been that tight. As we saw in the Ruiz fight, shots were getting through. And when you're a big man like that with big arms, there's no excuse for shots to be getting through. There's loads of you to cover. As an example, most people have a similar size head. But Joshua's got all these arms and all this body. There's no reason why you shouldn't be covered up. Chin down, keeping it tight. When you're under pressure, there's no reason not to be able to be comfortable in there when you're spending all this time in the ring. But I feel these trainers are not cerebral enough. They're not thinking about what they're doing. Every fight I'd want them to be able to know, listen, every fight we go into, yeah, the training sessions, the camp we do, you will get through that camp knowing, at worst case scenario, I'll be able to defend myself, if nothing else. Does that make sense? And if you do, you only have to do a few sparring sessions where you can only defend, and trust me, then once you've got your defense tight, then you can start building in the offense. But you should be able to go into every fight knowing, at worst case scenario, I know I can plant my feet and be comfortable here, and catch, and parry, and move. At worst case. Joshua doesn't know that. That Ruiz fight, there was no excuse. When Ruiz coming forward, why couldn't he put his chin on his chest and keep it all tight in? I don't know, anyway. They're the things you'll learn when you have pressure fighters coming against you. Joshua doesn't always have to be throwing back. He doesn't always have to be loading up and throwing back. You should be able to be comfortable taking shots and being under pressure. But anyway, I just wanted to say that to David Haye. And the last thing I'll say actually on this video is, listen, David, it's all well and good saying this as well. It's easier said than done. But David Haye made me laugh because, let's not forget, David Haye talks about, the thing with AJ, he's not been used to being under the pressure. But what do we know about David Haye? Number one, when he wasn't even under pressure from Vladimir Klitschko, and he jacked. So I was thinking to myself, you talked about, he needs to have some wars sometime, but what happened with Vladimir Klitschko? What happened to all that war sparring you were doing? What happened to all that war sparring when it came to fighting Vlad? You got in there and you jacked. Where was all that war mentality? And you need to have some wars in the gym. Where was all that war mentality when you got in there with Vlad and you jacked it? Didn't even throw a punch. And also, what happened? Maybe you want to say, he hurt his big toe. All right, David, big toe. Let's say he did hurt your toe. What happened against Carl Thompson then? Because that was in your prime. You fought in your prime against a shot to pieces Carl Thompson. Yeah, with Carl Thompson had 6 losses. Couldn't win a fight for love nor money. You got in there and he made you jack. So what happened to all that? Sometimes you got to have a war in sparring. Carl Thompson put it. Listen, David Haye ran out of gas and Carl Thompson put it on him and he folded. So we already know David Haye is full of it. He knows what to do for everyone else, but he don't do it himself. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that preface in there because it's easy for people to say things, and then when it comes to it themselves, all of that same talk. Where was it at? You know what I mean? Where was all that hard work where was all that hard sparring and, oh yeah, Joshua's got to get used to being under pressure. Where was all that when you was in there with Carl Thompson? Surely all of that sparring you've been doing should have kicked in, no? When you jacked against Carl Thompson, a journeyman. But the bottom line is, fundamentally what David Big Toe Haye is saying is true. AJ must become comfortable. Just like Mikey Garcia was comfortable and able. You didn't see Mikey Garcia's elbows flared out and swaying side to side. Now, it could be because, we all know, in fact, I was about to say it could be because Errol Spence isn't as big a puncher, but Ruiz isn't a big puncher either. Yeah? Dimitrenko's arms weren't swaying side to side all over the place. Your defense got to be tight. Oh, you're strong when your body's close to you. You ain't strong with your arms stretched out, elbows tucked into your chest, chin down. Make everything as small and as tight as you can. Don't give Ruiz holes to punch through. Yeah? That's what they should be preparing for. AJ should know, at worst case scenario, I can go in there with Ruiz and go 12 rounds without touching the canvas. Without throwing a punch. AJ should be confident and comfortable going in a fight with Ruiz and not having to throw a punch and make it through the fight. Just like Errol's. Listen, Mikey Garcia, people, let's not get it twisted here. AJ's fighting someone his side. And he's fighting someone who's actually full of fat. AJ's full of muscle. Yeah? Strong. Strength. Fat doesn't give you any strength. Fat's dead weight. AJ's strong. He's fighting someone his side. Mikey Garcia got in there with a dude. Errol Spence is about £190 man. Seriously. He's a weight bully. People call him a weight bully at 147. And Mikey Garcia, he's a blown up 135. He's actually a 130 pounder. At 135, he's got all his little belly hanging over, his little soft belly. He's a 130 pounder. He comes up 2 or 3 weight divisions and is able to get through the fight. Never buzzed, never hurt. Explain that. Good, solid Mexican defense. Disciplined, drilled. Bang. Simple as that. Drilled defense. Robin McCrappen ain't giving him no drilled defense. Does that performance look like drilled defense to you? Sloppy ass defense. That looks like the same defense that was there in 2011. And if I'm wrong, go and watch the Mihaly Nistor fight and you tell me if you see marked improvements from that fight 8 years ago. Unbelievable stuff. Very disappointing from McCrackhead. Shocking. I'm telling you now, that wouldn't be happening with a YB. I tell you for free. Unbelievable stuff. Very disappointing. But anyway, that's what needs to happen.